another way to transform your photos in a unique way is the effects. So if you open the effects menu here, you can find the vignetting tool, which is the first one here. So the vignetting tool can add a dark border around your image or a white border around your image. So there are several different relevant features once you've added a vignette. So I'm not sure if I like a dark vignette in this photo, so let's add a white one. And then we can see here that the midpoint, so the midpoint just adjusts the midpoint between the bright corners and the faded in area, and you can see that as we move the midpoint in, right, like it comes closer and closer to the center. As you move the midpoint away, right, like you will get the vignette moves closer and closer to the borders of the image. So if we leave it somewhere in the middle, and then there's roundness, so this has to do with how, if it's like an oval shape, like is the default, around the 0, it would just be an oval in the middle of the image here. And then if you move it away from being round, you end up with this very bizarre effect where it just curves the corners. And then if you go all the way to the middle, you end up with a circle in the middle of your image. So generally the default roundness is a pretty good effect. Normally you would not want to go with a vignette as strong as what I have here, but for demonstration purposes, it's really easy to see how the tool works by using this. So you can create feather as well. So if there's no feathering, you end up with a full oval, and it just kind of looks weird. If you add lots of feather, there's no hardness, which could be an interesting effect and actually make it better, but the default feather is this, and that works pretty well, especially when you're doing a darker vignette on probably not this image, but on some darker images. So if you go from light to dark vignette, you can also affect the highlights. It's hard to tell, so let's do it to the very extreme just so we can actually see what it's doing. So if you increase the highlights all the way, you can see that the highlights that are under the vignetted area will brighten as you adjust this highlight slider. So obviously this looks really horribly terrible, so let's get rid of it before our eyes hurt too much. And let's leave a slight white vignette here, and then we'll just to make this whole image have a different look and feel, we're gonna try to go through a few steps here. So the other tool you can do in effects is grain. So grain will make your image look more grainy, like this. So it basically could be similar to what effect you would get if you were shooting at a high ISO, or if you were shooting with some film or some other things. You can increase the size of your grain here, right, which will make your image look different, right? And then the roughness of the grain can be more rough, less rough. If it's very rough, very large grain, you're gonna have a very interesting looking image, right? So that just completely changes the entire look and feel of your image. It almost looks like a faded old image that's been like sitting in the sun for a long time here. Right, so that's probably a little bit too much, but you can do some interesting things with these tools. You can combine them with, let's see here, we can combine them with other tools like some of the presence tools here, right? If you wanted to really make your image look light and dreamy, you could just really dehaze it. And just by like making some small changes to your image, you went from a really modern, like strong contrast looking image to a grainy, hazy, like almost a film looking effect, just by adding a few different touches here with the edit. So this is one way you can use the vignetting and the grain to enhance your images.